The dark sky. The night over New York should have been ordinary. Lights sparkled on the skyline, horns blared through traffic, and the hum of humanity's endless motion filled the air. But then, silence. It began as a low vibration that rattled windows and sent pigeons scattering. The stars above trembled, flickering like dying candles. People craned their necks upward, cell phones lifted, voices uncertain. The sky tore open. A jagged rift cracked across the heavens, glowing with a sickly violet fire. Energy poured out in tendrils, writhing like serpents across the cityscape. Glass shattered in towers along Times Square as the alien storm descended, the very air thickening with static and dread. From the heart of the rift came ships, massive, black, and angular, shaped like blades forged in some cosmic furnace. They drifted downward, their engines shrieking, casting shadows that swallowed entire blocks. Panic erupted below. Cars skidded. Crowds surged like waves through the streets, desperate to escape a nightmare made real. And then he arrived. A figure stepped from the rift, descending as though gravity bent to his command. Vorrath, alien warlord of the HFY Dominion, towered above men. His armor was obsidian cracked with glowing violet lines, as if molten void fire lived beneath his skin. His eyes glowed with the cold hunger of a predator that had ended worlds. When his voice rolled through the air, it was like thunder breaking mountains. This world burns tonight. Its fire will fuel the Dominion. Its people will kneel or vanish. The crowd froze. Fear swept like wildfire. Yet, in that moment of despair, a streak of red and blue shot between skyscrapers. A familiar voice rang out, cracking tension like glass. "Yeah, see, we've got a strict no alien overlords policy around here." Spider-Man swung into view, landing on a battered taxi. His mask was cracked on one side, his suit scuffed from the day's earlier battles, but his tone was all defiance. Civilians gasped with relief. A kid raised his phone, live-streaming. "Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man reporting for duty," Peter muttered, eyes narrowing behind his mask. "And you, big guy, don't look very friendly." Vorrath tilted his head, unbothered, his voice a rumble. "Insects crawl first before the boot crushes them." Spider-Man's quips faltered. That voice wasn't bluster. It was truth. Vorrath believed himself inevitable. But then thunder split the night. Lightning forked across the torn sky, striking the roof of a skyscraper with blinding fury. Standing amid the crackling storm was Thor, son of Odin, Mjolnir in hand. His cape whipped in the alien wind, his eyes glowing with stormlight. He raised his hammer high. "Creature of the void," Thor bellowed. "You face not a helpless realm but Midgard, defended by its gods and champions." Cheers broke through the crowd. Humanity's courage flickered alive, as if the storm itself carried hope. Vorrath's violet eyes burned brighter. A god of storms, and an insect in cloth. Together, you are nothing. The ground shook. A deep, primal roar answered him. From the wreckage of a collapsed building rose the Hulk, green skin gleaming with sweat, eyes blazing like emerald fire. He tore free a steel beam, crushing it in his hands like paper, before pounding his chest. Hulk! Smash! The roar rattled car alarms across half the city. Civilians scrambled further back, knowing what always followed when Hulk entered the field. Chaos, destruction, and the faintest glimmer of salvation. Spider-Man exhaled sharply, flipping onto a light pole beside Hulk and Thor. "Well," he muttered, "this escalated quickly. God of Thunder, giant rage monster, and me, the guy with homework due Monday. Guess we're making this work." Thor smirked, adjusting his grip on Mjolnir. "You have courage, boy. That will serve you well." Hulk cracked his knuckles, staring up at Vorrath. Puny alien. Hulk stronger. The Warlord finally stepped forward. His boots struck the cracked pavement with the weight of a collapsing world. Each step seemed to bend the air, warping reality in pulses of void energy. The heroes braced themselves as Vorrath extended one hand, violet fire gathering into a sphere that hissed like boiling acid. The first strike came without warning. The energy sphere detonated against a nearby skyscraper, the explosion tearing half the tower into shrapnel. Debris rained onto the streets below. Screams filled the air. Spider-Man leapt immediately, webbing chunk after chunk mid-air, redirecting them away from fleeing civilians. His arms trembled under the sheer force, but his voice stayed steady. "Thor! Hulk! I've got the people, smash the bad guy already!" Thor hurled Mjolnir, lightning trailing in its wake. The hammer slammed into Vorrath's chest, the shockwave splitting the asphalt and sending cars tumbling. But the alien barely staggered. He caught the hammer mid-flight, holding it in his clawed hand, and with a snarl hurled it back at Thor. The son of Odin barely managed to catch it. The impact forced him to his knees. By the 9 realms, he caught it. Hulk roared, leaping skyward. His massive fist collided with Vorrath, driving the alien back several steps. The ground quaked under the force. For the first time, Vorrath bared his teeth in something close to respect. "You are strong, but strength alone cannot stop the void." Energy exploded from his armor, hurling Hulk across the street and into a collapsing bus. Spider-Man barely managed to pull a group of civilians clear before the wreckage came crashing down. Peter's chest heaved. He looked from Thor to Hulk, then back to Vorrath. The alien wasn't just strong. He was different. He radiated an energy that ate at the light around him, that fed on destruction itself. And above them, the rift still widened. Spider-Man swallowed hard. This is just the opening act. Thor rose to his feet, cape torn, lightning curling around his form. Hulk pushed debris off his shoulders, snarling, eyes locked on Vorrath. The Warlord spread his arms, as if embracing their resistance, and declared to the night, "Struggle, heroes! Burn bright, before the void devours you." The dark sky churned above, the fate of Earth trembling in the balance. War of Titans. The streets of New York were a battlefield. Flames licked the edges of broken towers, sirens wailed in every direction, and above it all the violet rift still tore wider across the sky, vomiting shards of alien fire. The Warlord Vorrath stood at its center, a living storm of void energy, while 3 of Earth's greatest defenders closed in around him. Hulk struck first. With a ground-shaking roar, he launched himself from the shattered remains of a bus, fists swinging like meteors. The impact thundered as his blow connected with Vorrath's chest, sending shockwaves through the street. Asphalt buckled. Windows cracked for blocks. But Vorrath did not fall. Instead, he caught Hulk's fist in one clawed hand, the violet veins in his armor blazing brighter. The force of the collision sent a pulse of energy outward, knocking cars into the air. Hulk snarled, shoving harder, veins bulging. "Rah!" Vorrath's voice was low, mocking. "You are strength made flesh, but even mountains crumble before the void." He wrenched Hulk sideways and hurled him across the street. Hulk smashed through the side of a parking garage, dust and debris exploding into the night. Civilians screamed as they ran for cover. "Okay, round 1, not in our favor," Spider-Man muttered, swinging in from the side. His webs shot out, sticking to Vorrath's arm. "But let's see how you handle a little New York hospitality." With a hard yank, Spider-Man pulled a chunk of a collapsing billboard down, the metal slab slamming into Vorrath's back. The alien staggered slightly, more annoyed than hurt. Vorrath swiped his hand and a pulse of void energy snapped the webbing instantly, nearly pulling Spider-Man into his grasp. Only Thor's lightning saved him. Mjolnir soared through the air, striking Vorrath's chest with a thunderclap that rattled the broken city. Lightning exploded across the Warlord's armor, sparks crackling off the violet fissures. This time, Vorrath grunted, the first sign of strain. Thor landed beside Spider-Man, gripping his hammer. His eyes glowed with stormfire. "Do not falter, Midgardian. Together we may yet bring this beast low." Spider-Man's chest heaved. "Yeah, sure, let's go with together. Just one tiny issue, he's literally a walking black hole." Vorrath raised his hand to the sky. The rift above twisted violently, pulling in clouds, air, and even the faint glimmers of starlight. Tendrils of energy rained down, scorching pavement and collapsing rooftops. From the rubble of the garage, Hulk roared back into the fight, leaping high. His fists came down like meteors, driving Vorrath into the ground. The pavement cracked outward in a massive crater. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Vorrath's laughter echoed. Deep, resonant, terrifying. He rose from the crater, violet energy swirling like a living storm around him. With a single pulse, he sent Hulk flying back again, slamming into the side of a skyscraper. The building groaned, already weakened. Spider-Man shot webbing at the upper floors, straining with every ounce of strength to keep the tower upright as civilians poured out in panic. "Guys!" he shouted, his arms burning. "Some help would be great before this turns into 9/11 Alien Edition." Thor answered. He hurled Mjolnir skyward, summoning a tempest. Lightning forked down into the skyscraper supports, fusing twisted steel and holding the building just long enough for Spider-Man to redirect the collapse. The structure tilted, groaned, and finally fell into a controlled heap away from the crowd. Spider-Man collapsed against the nearest wall, panting. "Okay, call that a win. Tiny win. Very tiny." Vorrath was already striding forward, every step splitting the ground. His voice carried like rolling thunder. "You delay the inevitable. Each blow feeds me. Each destruction fuels the void. You are heroes, but you are human. And humanity is weak." Thor raised Mjolnir, fury burning in his eyes. "Weak? We are forged in trial, alien. It is not weakness you face, it is will." He charged, lightning bursting from his body in arcs. The two collided in an explosion of light and shadow, bolts of storm clashing against waves of void. The sky itself seemed to tear as their clash rang out like a drumbeat of gods. Spider-Man pulled himself up, muttering, "Guess it's my turn to do something incredibly stupid." He fired a line of web onto a piece of reflective glass, swinging it into position. Catching Thor's lightning, the glass redirected a blinding beam straight into Vorrath's side. For the first time, Vorrath roared, not in triumph, but in pain. The void fire sputtered. Hulk seized the moment, charging in with a bone-cracking punch to Vorrath's jaw. The alien staggered, cracks spreading wider across his armor. Spider-Man's eyes widened behind the mask. "He's not invincible. Sunlight and lightning. It messes with him." Thor nodded, realizing it at once. A creature of shadow cannot withstand the purity of light. But Vorrath was not finished. He slammed his fists into the ground, sending out a shockwave that split entire streets in half. Spider-Man barely managed to swing away as a fissure swallowed a block. Hulk was forced back, and Thor was thrown into the air, lightning scattering across the clouds. Vorrath rose, towering, his voice booming. "Struggle, rage, resist, it only sweetens the void's feast. This world is already mine." The rift above widened again, drawing the very breath from the city. Stars blinked out overhead, the heavens themselves dimming. Spider-Man clung to a lamppost, sweat dripping under his mask. Thor climbed back to his feet, Mjolnir sparking. Hulk pounded the ground, snarling. Exhausted, battered, and bloodied, the heroes stood once more. Spider-Man's voice cracked through the chaos. "Yeah? Well, Vorrath, there's one thing you don't get. You're fighting more than 3 heroes. You're fighting 8 billion people who don't know how to quit." Thor lifted his hammer. Hulk roared. The three braced themselves as the alien warlord gathered void fire for the final strike. The War of Titans had begun. Humanity's fire. The city was broken. New York lay beneath a sky split in half, the violet rift pulsing wider and wider as if the heavens themselves bled light. Vorrath stood in its glow, a living shadow wrapped in obsidian armor cracked with void fire. Around him, the ground was scarred with impact craters, the streets filled with wreckage and smoke. Spider-Man hung from a bent lamppost, his suit shredded, every breath a ragged fire in his chest. Hulk crouched in the rubble of a fallen tower, one arm bruised, his face a mask of fury and exhaustion. Thor stood bloodied, Mjolnir in hand, his cape torn to ribbons, stormlight flickering weakly around him. They had fought with everything they had. And still, Vorrath endured. "You cannot win," the alien warlord thundered, voice rolling through the city like collapsing stone. "Every strike, every sacrifice, it feeds the void. Earth will not be remembered. It will be consumed." Spider-Man's heart pounded. He thought of Aunt May, of MJ, of every person hiding in subway stations, praying this nightmare would pass. He whispered through clenched teeth, "Not on my watch." He leapt forward, firing webs into the wreckage around him. Grabbing twisted glass panels, steel beams, anything reflective, he swung them into place. The morning sun had begun to rise over the ruins, pale golden light spilling into the darkened streets. Peter's plan was insane, but then again, so was every day of his life. "Thor!" he shouted. "Aim the lightning. Make me a mirror." Thor understood at once. His eyes blazed as he lifted Mjolnir skyward. A storm erupted from the heavens, lightning roaring through the clouds. Spider-Man's glass and web lattice caught it, refracting blinding beams into Vorrath's chest. The warlord screamed, staggering as cracks split wider across his armor. Purple energy bled out, spilling like molten fire. Hulk charged. With a primal roar, he slammed into Vorrath, fists pounding like war drums. Each blow widened the cracks. Spider-Man swung in close, anchoring his webs into the fissures, pulling with every ounce of strength he had. "Now, big guy. Break him open." Hulk delivered a punch so fierce it echoed like thunder across Manhattan. Vorrath's armor shattered, shards exploding outward in violet fire. The alien staggered, roaring in pain for the first time. But still, he did not fall. Vorrath lifted both hands to the rift. Energy cascaded into him, his body swelling with cosmic power. The very air warped around him, and his voice shook the sky. "You fight with fury, but I am eternal. Humanity burns tonight." Then something unexpected happened. From the streets, the rooftops, the broken subways, voices rose. Civilians. Survivors. They shouted not in fear, but in defiance. Phones lit up, cameras streamed, chants echoed. "Stand! Stand! Stand!" A little girl raised a cardboard sign through the smoke, its words scrawled in marker. "We believe." The sight hit Spider-Man harder than any punch. Tears stung his eyes beneath the mask. Thor felt it too, the courage of Midgard burning brighter than stormlight. Even Hulk, lost in fury, paused at the sound of human voices rising like a tide. Spider-Man's voice cracked through the chaos. "You hear that, Vorrath? That's humanity. And we don't quit. Ever." Thor raised Mjolnir high, summoning every ounce of storm left within him. Hulk roared, leaping with a final surge of raw strength. Spider-Man swung high above, his webs igniting with sunlight as he pulled every reflective shard into a blazing halo. Together, they struck. Thor's lightning, Hulk's fists, Spider-Man's burning web mirrors, each converged into a single cataclysmic blast. Vorrath screamed as the combined fury of storm, strength, and spirit tore through him. His void energy sputtered, fractured, and finally imploded. The warlord's body cracked apart in a burst of violet fire. His scream was swallowed as the rift above him collapsed inward, folding in on itself until the sky was once again whole. Stars returned. The storm was gone. Silence fell. Smoke drifted over the city. Broken glass glittered in the dawn like scattered diamonds. Vorrath was no more. Spider-Man collapsed onto a rooftop, chest heaving. He could barely lift his head. Please, tell me that was the grand finale. Hulk sat in the rubble, bleeding but alive, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Hulk, smash good. Thor planted Mjolnir into the ground, using it to hold himself steady. His voice was weary but proud. The void is broken. Midgard endures. Then the sound began again. Voices. But this time, not cries of fear. Cheers. Applause. The people of New York, bruised and battered, emerged from hiding. They filled the streets, raising their fists, chanting for their heroes. Spider-Man sat up, his mask half torn, his smile faint but real. He looked out at the people, at humanity standing tall amidst ruin. Guess they didn't need gods or monsters to save them. Just a reason not to give up. Thor's gaze softened. Humanity's fire is its greatest weapon. And today, it burned brighter than the void. The heroes stood together, battered but unbroken, as the sun climbed higher over the city. The battle was won, not by gods, not by monsters, not even by heroes alone. It was won by humanity. And as long as that fire burned, Earth would never fall.